Hello and welcome back to our global launch of A Woman's Guide to Business Domination. This book that has just launched today, it is a collaboration of 18 amazing global business leaders who have shared their wisdoms on topics that are just their genius zone, their area of expertise, area that they have just, managed to get a command of, and they're happy to share their learnings with you in this amazing book. And I'm now going to introduce you to our next speaker, Dr. Ingrid Vasiliu-Feltes, who is going to be sharing about her chapter called Leveraging Technology to Dominate the Business Ecosystem. So welcome, Dr. Ingrid.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And once again, congratulations for assembling such an amazing opportunity for all of us. And I really appreciated the variety of all chapters that were submitted. I think we're having a very comprehensive approach to how to dominate business, right? What I thought I could do today is share a little bit about what sparked my decision to name the chapter this way, and then highlight a few key elements from the chapter, if I may.
Absolutely.
So, as we all know, we've been reading hundreds of articles, previous books, countless talks and chats about how to change the paradigm for women and how to change the gender gap in certain domains. And I thought having a different approach to not only address it at the end of the problem, where we need to ask for equal opportunities from an education perspective or employment perspective or any other opportunities that we might want, is to address it from how can we already engage young women and current business leaders and future business leaders to be involved into the deep fabric of the business ecosystem. And in this chapter, I propose one solution that by being very much involved in technology and specifically deep tech, we can maybe see a chance to completely change the paradigm. And what do I mean by that? If we look at most current jobs that are predicted to be dominant in the future by 2030, 40, 50, and when you look at the statistics that show what skills will be required for those jobs and what technologies are predicted to be foundational for those jobs, I think it's evident that there must be a complete transformation. And when we're talking about transformation, it's not only from a behavioral perspective, but also in the way we educate, the way we prepare our careers, the way we maintain our talent during a career pathway, and then also how we support others, because I think that's another element that I bring to the forefront in this chapter. Just being focused on one person is not enough. We need to think ecosystem. So when we think from an ecosystem perspective and how we can not only help ourselves in our career, but how can we create an ecosystem around us that then changes the paradigm is very important. And that's why in this chapter, I focus very much on how technology, of course, it's at the foundation of also the next industrial revolution. So it will really change not only the way we educate our children, the way we play and entertain ourselves, the way we decide to hire and train talent. So it will have a deep impact on society and business. So that's another element I tried to bring about in the chapter, that by being involved in technology and deep technology, or making it a career path, it is having a far-reaching impact in multiple domains. And a few of them are highlighted in the chapter. So for instance, I highlight how also experts predict that not only will we change the way we work and play and educate ourselves, but the way we live also in cities, right? So smart cities and smart communities and smart ecosystems are also going to be predominant. Majority of the population, so it's predicted that by 2030, more than 2/3 of the global population will live in smart metropolis. And that smart metropolis will need skilled people, and we'll have a completely different way of interacting for the community members, and the way we educate ourselves will be very different in that smart metropolis, and the way we work. So once again, technology will be at the foundation of those smart cities. And if we are skilled in deep tech or technologies in general, we'll have an opportunity to stay at the cutting edge and gain that competitive edge. So that's why you'll see that chapter. The other element I wanted to share in the chapter is the importance of getting involved and how women can contribute to impact investing. I would not underestimate the importance of impact investments. And again, technology is foundational to impact investments. So when we look at the current trends, and the pandemic unfortunately has only accelerated some of these trends, companies that are not focused on sustainability, that are not focused on impact on society, that are not purpose driven, are not able to gain a competitive edge. So once again, being involved in a business ecosystem that is promoting technologies that can impact society and the global greater good and are aligned with sustainable development goals, one or more of them, preferably as many as possible, have an opportunity to gain that competitive edge. So similarly, I draw upon what we recommend to businesses, that for our personal career, if we can find areas of interest and areas of expertise and areas where we can excel that also are aligned with sustainable development goals, you can then sustain your career pathway as well. So I draw that parallel between what we recommend for companies and what we can also apply to our own career path. The other one, another concept that I wanted to highlight in the chapter, was the importance of applying certain methodologies that we usually recommend in management for companies, but I also feel that you can invert that and do it for you. So if you are your own project, if your career is that new project, having an abundance mindset and an exponential thinking approach and a design thinking approach to your own career path is very important, and that's how you can maintain a competitive edge. So once again, mirroring what we recommend to a company when we say to engage in design thinking, in a continuous quality improvement, in a continuous innovation process, always try to improve what you need to give to the customer, always try to improve what you can see from your environment, what you're learning from the environment. So similarly, if you're the product, right, your career, you can continuously reinvent yourself, learn new skills, learn what has not worked, and try to adapt to this new environment. And I bring it one step further. That's why I mentioned exponential thinking. You want to always think 10x. If you prepare for your career, but always think just about today, you'll always be behind. So it's very helpful, and technology can be a conduit to that, to always think, I want to be 8 years ahead. So when the rest of the ecosystem is there, you're in a perfect position to be able to have the skills that everybody needs. And that would also address some of the equity gaps that we've seen, or the divide that we see in the job attribution. So when you look again at statistics published by the World Bank and World Economic Forum, you see that there are many industries, majority, that have less than 10% women in them, less than 10%. And then there are two industries that have heavy predominant women, such as education and healthcare, as an example. So once again, I make the point in the chapter that by being involved in technology, and specifically deep tech, you have an opportunity to also infuse women that have these skills into some of the other business domains and industries. So little by little, if we would encourage more young girls to go into these type of careers, and more women that are currently in them to upskill or reskill, then by 2030 or 2040 or 2050, we might be able to change those percentages that now look very concerning to some of us, right? So the other part I wanted to highlight in the chapter is the importance to scan the horizon and identify areas where you can excel. So same way, technology should be a tool conduit to you finding your niche in the business ecosystem, and trying to find complex problems that technology can change, and you becoming an expert at that can also give you a competitive edge in the business ecosystem. So that's another point I'm making, that it's really important to always excel at what you do and try to become the best at what you do, because then others will seek you out. You don't have to try to ask anybody to give you equal rights. You don't have to ask anybody to give you equal opportunity. Then people will come to you because you're the undeniable expert in that unique skill that you identified. So again, one of the sections in the chapter highlights the importance of striving for excellence. So overarching in the chapter is the emphasis on education, striving for excellence, the exponential thinking, that you want to always think about how can I amplify, augment what others are doing. I think that's also an important element that can give you a competitive edge, because everybody wants to do well, right? No one gets up in the morning and says, I want to be mediocre or I don't want to do well. So by amplifying and augmenting what everybody else is striving to do, finding those common connections and acting as a connector, as an exponential glue, if you will, between what others are trying to accomplish, sometimes you can also get a very sustained competitive advantage, because you'll always have new people in the ecosystem. And then the last element I wanted to highlight from the chapter is that this is a personal experience. I do believe that by focusing on building a culture of digital ethics and ethical leadership is also extremely important in a technology-driven society. It's easy to fall in the trap and in a race that everybody is in, to try to develop the next technology and find the highest ROI and gain the competitive edge purely on the business side. But I'm making a point in one paragraph that it's really essential to hone and improve all the other skills, such as ethical leadership and understanding also how that can align with compliance and regulatory guidelines. And you don't need to become an expert in that, but I think it's really essential, if you want to dominate in the business ecosystem, to have that multifaceted and interdisciplinary approach. The digital era shows us that the boundaries we were traditionally accustomed to have been blurred, and that it is essential for leaders now to not only be all tech company leaders, right? It used to be that if you were in tech, you were in tech, and if you weren't, you didn't have to know anything about it. Now
everyone's tech.
Everybody has to have some basic tech knowledge, otherwise you can't survive. And similarly, it used to be that ethicists were somewhere in a university and wrote amazing papers. And I work very closely with a very dear friend and colleague, and we strive to educate enterprise leaders that digital ethics cannot be put aside anymore. It's really important as your financial meetings. Otherwise, you end up in problems like we're seeing every day in social media, data breaches, right? Because with the exponential increase in technology, we also increase the data sharing, and interoperability efforts we have are great. I'm one that strives for interoperability from a technology side, but that also opens us up to vulnerabilities from a data privacy perspective, because the more technologies you embed into a product or service, the more vulnerabilities you open up. So it's almost an inverse proportional relationship. And so in that chapter section, I make the point that having a proactive digital ethics approach and infusing your career path with some of these elements, and not being afraid to speak up when it's necessary, is really important. And last, towards the end of the chapter, I also make the point that women should hopefully be more involved and strive to be more involved and be courageous enough to propose new business models. It's essential, if we think about the digital era and this whole digital transformation, not only in the business system, but also for our careers and the way we educate our children, we need to think about new business models from the beginning, because applying old business models for what we're trying to transform is not going to work. And again, when you look at in general in the business ecosystem, it's not women traditionally who come forward to propose a new way of doing business. right? So, and that then translates also into new financing models, new KPIs, new metrics. And that has been, for instance, something that I enjoyed very much to always design quality metrics or new custom indicators for niche technologies. And people always ask me, why do you care about these metrics so much? I go, well, I feel that's where I excel. And two, I feel, how are we going to know if we're doing well at what we're trying to deploy?
Exactly.
So it's been an area that, the same way I started our conversation today when I highlighted why I chose this chapter, it's been my area where I naturally had an inclination for data and metrics and analysis, and I loved it. And then whenever I saw a new technology that could solve a complex problem, I already started to think, okay, if this is going to work, if our deployment is going to succeed, if we get a large scale adoption, how are we going to really know if it worked as well as we wanted to, if we can replicate it, how can we improve it? Because even if we deploy the most amazing technology in 1 year, it's going to be obsolete already. So those are just a few of the elements I highlighted in the chapter. And I know I went really quick, but I just wanted to give our audience like a 30,000 foot, very high level view. A lot, a lot of friends ask me, why would you say technology? It's not a common approach to business dominance. But I have felt it worked for me, and I enjoyed it very much. And I wanted to propose to others to at least think about it. So that's the essence of why I thought that it might be a nice contribution to your book. And I really wanted to thank you again for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Ingrid. I tell you what, everyone listening in, it is a fascinating chapter. You can hear from the expertise, the knowledge that Dr. Ingrid has. She's not just a healthcare executive, a futurist, a globalist, dedicated to digital and ethics advocacy. She's actually super passionate as well as all things, deep tech. She's passionate about women lifting, becoming, equal in their gender pays, gender opportunities. She is just absolutely such an impressive a woman in all that she achieves. It's not surprising that in this chapter you're getting a multi-award, global award-winning expert in this space. I love what the term ecosystem, Dr. Ingrid, because often we think of ourselves as solo operators. The modern age has been that we've gone from this, the tribe, my business, women's biz tribe. I'm all about the tribe, but we've gone from that and the extended family to then nuclear families and then solo operators. And a lot of people just going, I'm just doing my own thing, but it's not the future. The future is we're all in an ecosystem. We're all codependent. And with that, I love the way you've gone right to the roots, which is technology, because that's right. If your tech fails, your whole business crashes. Your life does as well. It's amazing. It's the ultimate, tech and viruses will stop the world, right? And so I'm so thankful that you brought this topic to this book, because I think it will be such a valuable chapter for those reading it, to actually start thinking of the way technology actually supports the framework, not just of your business, but of society. I love your thinking on design thinking, just for yourself personally, as well as your business. I think that is just a whole area that people should get into. And I also love what you said about, 10xing in your mindset, because that's exactly it. I'm sure from the window that you have into the future, oh my goodness, there's so much rapid change that if we don't adopt one technology fast, and if we don't have a 10x mindset, then we will be very, very far left behind, because the change is going to be, if we think we've been through rapid change, extreme rapid change is coming. So I think it's a very important topic to actually to raise, for us to consider, for us to look at technology in our own space, and also be then thinking, okay, well, how are you then getting on top of it? I love the way you shared too about, becoming that expert. Girls, if you're wondering of what to do and you're not so passionate about anything, get into STEM, get into science and technology, because that's right, it will be an in-demand area. Everyone will need people with high-level expertise. So if you're wanting to level up in the future, definitely you'll need it for your own businesses, those who are reading this book as entrepreneurs, but also people who are growing into future business leaders. Definitely. Read Dr. Ingrid's chapter, reach out to her. You can see her website is on our scrolling screen as well. She would be able to easily put you in touch with people who could be able to help you in this way. So we need to be early adopters, and it's never too late. So I think you'd agree, Dr. Ingrid, even though you live and breathe tech, anyone who's shied away from it, because I know there still are a lot of people going, I'm just not very technical. It's never too late, and you need to be, is probably the message.
Absolutely, but I get that question a lot. You don't need to become a coder. You don't need to become the engineer. You just need to understand how that technology helps your ecosystem and your business. So not every one of us has to become the expert in the actual technology, but you need to understand how it can help solve your problem, how it can help your business, how it can help your career, how you can interact. There are plenty of roles that are affiliated with that technology, right? So you can be the regulatory specialist, you can be the finance specialist, you can be the quality person, you can be the legal person. But the point is, like you said, technology-driven ecosystem will be the competitive pathway in the future. In this fifth, I'm proposing that the fifth industrial revolution is already here. We just haven't named it yet, but I think that's the important message today, to be ready for it and embrace it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for giving up your time to share. This book is already on kmdbooks.com, so you can actually purchase your books now. It's going to have 18 different chapters from women from around the world, and you definitely want to tap into Dr. Ingrid's. I think it will start blowing your mind as to how she the areas that she works in, and the incredible gems that she actually gives you. It's just so much value in what you've shared, and I just thank you so much for being part of it all.
Thank you for the opportunity, and congrats again for this great success.
Okay, and everyone, just stay tuned. In about 5 minutes we will be on to our next amazing author, so go and get yourself a cup of tea, and we'll be back very soon.